Well, stainless steel is the and the most important material that is sort of all of our materials and our instruments. As orthodontists, we use different kinds of instruments. One set of instruments is what we call a basic screening or basic checkup of appliances, which includes a kit in which we have an intraoral mirror, we have a tweezer, we have an explorer or what we call a probe. All of these are made with surgical stainless steel. The stainless steel that we call I think if I'm not making a mistake, it's a martensitic kind of stainless steel. So in stainless steel, in terms of dentistry, I know that there are three basic kinds of stainless steel that are in use. There's the ferritic, which is used very little in my practice. There's martensitic, which contributes to our instruments, my orthodontic pliers. I have cutting instruments. So we have what we call a distal end cutter, a pin and ligature cutter. All of these cutters, the very pliers with which we place instruments, all of those are generally with martensitic stainless steel. And then we have austenitic stainless steel. In austenitic stainless steel, again, there are two different kinds. There's 302 and 304 based on the carbon content. And these are the material with which are my brackets, which means if I'm doing fixed orthodontic treatment, all my brackets are with the austenitic stainless steel. All the wires that we use, these are again made of stainless steel, and all the various other adjuncts that we have, whether these be bands, tubes, they be hooks for elastics, they be ligature wires. So all of these materials are then made of the austenitic stainless steel. As an orthodontist, having a practice in which I'm working with patients, I mean, steel it's instrumental because there's practically no aspect of what I do that can be done if steel is not a part of it. So steel forms a massive backbone for an orthodontic practice and perhaps even a dental practice. But the most important material for any material to be used in dentistry is that it must be biocompatible. And the fact that steel is biocompatible, the fact that it's got tarnish and corrosion resistance by the addition of chromium, wherein that titanium dioxide layer gets formed, which does not allow any other materials to permeate into the alloy, and therefore it gives me the safety that in the same state that I've placed it in the mouth, irrespective of the fact that the oral environment, the temperatures undergo changes with the intake of warm foods, warm water, the fact that the pH or the acidity of the oral environment again tends to vary based on whether the patient is fasting, what food they're consuming, other metabolic disorders they may have, whether they're sick with certain enzymes, growths. So you see, the oral environment is not a static environment. It's a very dynamic environment. And despite the dynamism of the environment in the oral cavity, having a material which, if it is placed in the oral cavity over a prolonged period of time, occasionally our treatments go on for as little as 6 months to as much as even 2 to 3 years. So we need to feel safe that whatever I've placed in the mouth should not undergo any change in phase or state, and therefore should not cause any harm to my patient. Whilst I'm trying to make things better, I definitely don't want to cause any harm. And steel gives me that comfort that yes, it's a stable material, it's biocompatible. Of course, the various other advantages of a material like steel include its strength, the fact that it's a formable material, so which means I can make and retain bends, especially in my arch wires. So that is extremely helpful. The fact that it can be soldered and welded, so that makes it, I can make more complex appliances because I can add on other components because it can be soldered, it can be welded. So that's a big advantage. The fact that it can be drawn into wires. So the fact that allows me to create a whole new set of adjuncts which are so necessary in my profession. Besides that, depending on whether if I'm using martensitic stainless steel, the fact that these are strong instruments because they've now been, it's treated stainless steel. So I need instruments which are strong, which can be used, and in my practice, there are instruments which I'm using right from my student days. So I've been using them for 27 to 28 years, and they're still performing so well because of the fact that they are strong, they can be sterilized. So whether it be with cold sterilization, whether it be with autoclave, I can still pop it in. So that again is a huge advantage in our field of dentistry. So all of these properties, they kind of make it a very useful material. The fact that in terms of the wires, that the material is resilient, which means it's got an energy storing capacity, and this energy is dissipated over the next several weeks. So typically, my patients are seen once every 4 to 6 weeks, and the fact that the material is such that it can absorb the energy or whatever energy I've built into it, and it can go ahead and then slowly over time sort of release that energy to produce the effect that I'm looking for. So that again is a very big property of stainless steel that really helps me. Several advances that have taken place, and much of these advances are, of course, with an extensive understanding of the metallurgy of stainless steel. So, for instance, additional amounts of nickel and titanium in the material have led to formation of wires which are highly flexible. So in the initial stages of orthodontic treatments, when I want wires which are flexible, which will emit very low forces. So because whilst we are waiting for the bone response to develop, we want low force materials which are comfortable, which the patient doesn't complain of soreness. So these materials, with the addition of nickel and titanium, have become super flexible, as we call them, and therefore we can go ahead and very early in treatment attach these wires into, irrespective of how crooked the tooth is, and yet be confident that the force won't be too excruciating. The patient will be well within their limits to bear up with the discomfort as associated with these initial wires. So that's been a huge impact. The second impact has been the addition of copper along with nickel and titanium. And this has allowed formation of wires which are heat sensitive. So heat sensitive wires are such that when I place it in the mouth, they have a transition temperature around 35 degrees. So, and the oral cavity has got a temperature of 37 degrees centigrade. So at room temperature, whilst the wire is completely sort of dead, as we call it, once I put it to the oral cavity, it already is getting activated and it's got shape memory. So if I put in a particular arch wire with the arch form that I would like the future the patient to have at the end of the treatment, this wire with its shape memory can exert the forces and bring the teeth into that particular arch form. So with minimal changes in arch wires, with minimal adjustments in between the entire course of the treatment, I can expect to get maximum results. So the addition of these elements into the standard stainless steel has made a huge impact. Additionally, we've got sets of wires now which are stainless steel with the addition of titanium and molybdenum. And these titanium molybdenum wires are very useful at the later stages of treatment. So, for instance, if I've done an extraction case, when I'm trying to close up gaps between the patient's teeth, when I'm making use of TMA or titanium molybdenum wires, what I land up doing is that I can create a force system involving loops and bends, and these emit the forces over a period of 6 to 9 weeks. So once I've put this wire in place with the particular specifications, particular angulations, I can avoid seeing the patients for as much as 3 months and expect that the space closure will take place gradually in a systematic, desired manner. So these changes in the metallurgy with addition of certain other elements have been a game changer as far as orthodontics are concerned. Well, as far as orthodontic treatments concerned, irrespective of whether I'm doing treatments using braces, that means brackets, wires, or whether I'm doing this with clear aligners, stainless steel can never be replaced in a dental or my orthodontic practice, because even if I'm doing treatments with plastic based clear aligners, I still need instruments. So all of my instruments, whether they be my examination instruments, my pliers, my working instruments, will always only be made of stainless steel. Besides that, even when I'm doing treatments using clear aligners, there's certain adjuncts which are there in the treatment, which means these are added on along with the clear plastic aligners. And these could be in the form of hooks for elastics, these could be in the form of buttons, these could be in order to engage an additional elastomeric force component so as to make the extraction cases more predictable. So all of those adjuncts are primarily again made of stainless steel. So whilst yes, my practice included has undergone a huge paradigm shift, we are doing many more cases with aligners, but yet stainless steel is always going to be a part of my practice in terms of the newer equipment or the newer pliers which I'm using. All of those are still made very much out of stainless steel, and the adjuncts which I use along with the aligners, those are also made of stainless steel. Well, again, because again, as we said, stainless steel is a very broad material that gets used in my practice. So whilst it comes to my equipment, which means my pliers, my cutters, all of those are obviously very, very sustainable, very reusable. As I said, some of the pliers which I bought right when I was a student, which means almost 28 years ago, are still very much being used, and we can effectively cold sterilize it. When I mean cold sterilization, which means by the use of chemicals, we can effectively heat sterilize it by means of autoclaves, or it's like a pressure cooker like device in which steam under pressure helps to sort of disinfect it to a level where we are confident that we will not be cross-contaminating patients. So from that perspective, it's highly sustainable, there's no problem. But as far as brackets and wires are concerned, it is actually it is ethical for us, and it is recommended that these are one-time use only. So whatever kits are opened and placed in a particular patient's mouth for whatever reason, whether we need to abort treatment, whether we need to replace a component, the moment it comes out of the patient's mouth, at my clinic at least, we have a special disposal box in which it goes in, and which has already got certain chemicals in it, so as to ensure that there's whatever germs or whatever bacteria or whatever things are there can be nullified or can be neutralized. And whatever the sharp edges, so we have sharp wastes of wires which are very, very sharp, they're as sharp as needles. So all of those get collected in a special box, and when we're discarding it, these go in a special biohazard bag, so that the collector also knows that these have to be handled with care. So sustainability is there in terms of equipment, instruments, all of that. But as far as brackets and wires are concerned, sustainability is not as much of a priority, because these are only one-time use. We do not, and we discourage use from one patient to another. So the two ways in which we do this. One way is that we select very reputed companies to provide materials to me. So from the very onset, there are only a very few companies from whom I purchase my materials and my equipment, because I know that these are very reputed. They are, they've been in the system for over 55, 60 years, and we know that the quality of the instruments that I get are going to be good enough that they can last me a very long time. So that's one, by selection of the correct distributor and producer of the equipment and the materials. And additionally, especially items like pliers and our instruments, the day-to-day instruments, on the inside surface of the handles of these instruments, they normally have an AISI mark, indicating that these have been tested based on the AISI standardization, and therefore we are then confident that the quality is matching what is required and what is needed. But in terms of smaller items that we use, whether these be brackets, wires, because of the sheer size of these products, it is impossible for there to be any sort of a stamping or any way in which they can certify that these are of a particular quality. So what then we just at my level, due diligence involves buying and sourcing materials from a company where I am confident will be ethical and will be providing me good quality products. Yes, I mean, one of the things that we've always struggled with, and that is that especially our cutters. So we have wire cutters, and if these wire cutters are heat sterilized, which means if we put it into the autoclave, which means steam under pressure is being used to sterilize these instruments, we've always noticed that there's been a blunting of the edge of the cutting instruments, which means when I'm trying to trim my wires, and over a period of time we tend to struggle because the cutting edge tends to blunt down. So every few years or every few months we just need to replace it. And for very many cases, then we avoid steam sterilization, which is the gold standard, but we do cold sterilization, which means we dip it into chemicals which will allow the spores, etc., all if anything is there, to get cleaned out. And in recent times, especially during COVID, I've gone forward and I've bought a UV machine. So these are, again, it's a stainless steel drum. So again, stainless steel is a part of it. But on the inner layer, they have reflecting edges. I mean, the stainless steel has been cut in a manner so as to reflect UV light, and a UV beam passes through it. And with the reflection along the various inner surfaces of the stainless steel drum, it's UVC kind of radiation which is used in order to inactivate any germs, viruses, bacteria which may be there. So whilst this may have reduced the blunting of the instrument, but if there are metal studies which can be done on as to how to ensure that the cutting edge of these cutters and wire holders don't blunt off over time, I think that would be a huge a valuable take back from the stainless steel industry. Because in terms of improvement in the quality of the bracket or the quality of the wire, I'm not going to stress on that as much, because I do admit that much of our practice is now tending to move away from bracket and wire practices, more tending towards aligner practices. So therefore, I would rather that the energy be utilized in improving the quality of my instrumentation now.